Oh yeah, they bought the Bills. Yeah,
That's right. Right. Remember they had the Bon Jovi banner at the Air Canada Center for a long time.
They had to move it for all the Leaf Championship banners.
I don't remember.
There's
that.
the first
Of course,
one.
I was never in the
There's
place.
the first.
All right, here we go, gentlemen. Let's go. Welcome to episode 1789 of Toronto Mic'd. Proudly brought to you by Great Lakes Brewery, a fiercely independent craft brewery who believes in supporting communities, good times, and brewing amazing beer. Order online for free local home delivery in the GTA. Palma Pasta. Enjoy the taste of fresh, homemade Italian pasta and entrees from Palma Pasta in Mississauga and Oakville. Blue Sky Agency, the official distributor of Silen's quiet, comfortable, and customizable office pods. Create sanctuary within your workspace. Nick Iones, he's the host of Building Toronto Skyline and Building Success, two podcasts you ought to listen to. Kindling, go to shopkindling.ca for free 1-hour cannabis delivery. RecycleMyElectronics.ca, committing to our planet's future means properly recycling our electronics of the past. And Ridley Funeral Home, pillars of the community since 1921. Today, returning to Toronto Mic'd with the Blue Jays up 3-2 over the LA Dodgers in the World Series, it's Bob Elliott and Dave Perkins. How are you two gentlemen doing?
It's great to be us.
Very well, Michael.
What an honor it is. A couple of living legends here in the basement here. You're going to the game 6 tonight, right, Bob?
Yes, sir.
So you're covering this game? You're going for business or pleasure or both?
Well, I've been writing the home games. The only game I didn't go to was Game 7 against Seattle. I thought it would be a good idea to phone up guys who made the World Series, watching guys trying to make the World Series. And I was talking to Hanky, and Hanky goes, "Well, we gotta walk." He's talking as if he's still with the team, and I said, "No, it's not you're watching the wrong station. It's 3-1 to Barger." He said, "No, we got a hit." I said, "Who are you, Jerry Howarth?" And he said, "Well, I haven't said yes, sir," which he always said after home runs, right? So then Hanky does, "Yes, sir." I said, "What are you talking about? Barger's still up." So his feed was like 20 seconds ahead of me. And I said, "You ruined it for me."
Spoiler.
Yeah. I said, "I didn't even see it."
What
the highlights. Yeah.
What a moment, Barger there. Let's check in with Dave Perkins, FOTM Dave Perkins. How are you doing these days, Dave?
Fine, just fine.
So I want to talk about what's going to happen tonight, the 2025 Blue Jays, and maybe do a little compare and contrast, like between the 92 and 93 World Series champion Blue Jays and this Blue Jays. But maybe off the top, any predictions on who throws out? Again, I'm going to timestamp this because this could be announced in 2 minutes. But at 1:04 p.m. on Halloween 2025, October 31st, 2025, we're now chatting. Does anyone here have a prediction on who's going to throw out the ceremonial first pitch tonight at the Dome for Game 6?
I suspect it's going to be Pat Borders, but my recommendation would be Buck Martinez. He's got a 40-plus year link to this team. Everybody likes him. He's been through the middle this year. He's back. He's popular. I would do Buck, but that's just me. I know Jack Morris is in town. I know Molitor's in town. There's quite a few guys in town, and I suspect I know that they were talking about Borders. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. But I was glad they got Cito for the first game. But I'd go with Buck.
What do you think, Bob?
I think Buck's a real good choice to get people wound up. I mean, the couple of the receptions he's received when he's come back, and they showed him on the board when he was up in the booth with Daniel Schulman. That's the purpose of it is to get people wound up, and Buck would get them excited.
Sure.
I think, yeah.
Do you think this is going to be the final season that Buck Martinez is an analyst for Sportsnet Jays coverage?
Yeah, I don't know anything, but I mean, I know he keeps saying he wants to do it, but I don't know. I think he's 76, so I don't know. I don't know how much longer he's going to do it. I would not be surprised if this was his finale.
I know some guys are still working on that age.
Yeah, Bob,
Some
you don't
guys
know how to
in this
retire.
room.
What's going on, Bob? So do you ever plan to retire?
No, everybody said Simmons wrote I retired. I didn't retire. I just left the paper. I don't golf. I don't fish. I don't hunt. I don't do anything. So I write about mostly college players, draft players, but I thought I should be, writing about the home games. I mean, we don't have the budget to. I've been to 2 WBCs and maybe the next one in Puerto Rico, if I get approval from the home office. Yeah.
Now, I was talking to Dave before you arrived, Bob, and we were talking about how many World Series he remembers watching. So he's going to give us his number in a moment. But what was the first World Series you remember watching on television?
57, the Braves and the Yankees.
Yeah, he got me beat. Well, he's much older than me. I remember 59. I remember the Dodgers and the White Sox and somebody knocking a beer on Al Smith's head.
Yeah,
I remember
left
that.
field, yeah. I remember that.
That was a classic photo.
I don't know if it was. I mean, I heard 2 stories. One, the guy was doing it on purpose, but one, the guy was hoping for the ball and he knocked it off. So
Reaching for the ball, yeah. Amazingly, I don't think the beers were $18 in those days in Comiskey Park. You could afford to knock them over with your elbow.
Just the disco records, yeah.
Yeah.
So, Dave, you said the B word, beer. So and I know the real reason you're here today, and I'm honored you're here, but you're here because you're going to go home with some fresh craft beer from Great Lakes Brewery.
I'd better.
And both of you gentlemen are entitled to a lasagna. I have frozen lasagnas. They arrived today from Palma Pasta, and you're welcome to take home some frozen lasagna with you as well.
All right.
Or to the game, yeah.
How does that sound? That sounds pretty good. Okay, so we're going to talk 2025. Well, maybe we should just remind the listenership. So you guys have been on here a couple of times. Bob came over. This is at least your 3rd visit, Bob, if my math is correct. But Dave, you were over. Well, maybe it's your 4th visit. I don't know, but each of you have been over at least 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
But remind the listenership, what were you doing in 92, 93, like in your career? Why would you be an appropriate
We were
guest?
sitting beside each other.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Bob for the Sun, me for the Star. We were the baseball columnist, I guess is the best word. We weren't kind of the game story guy. We were the opinion writers, such as it was. But we were, we did a lot of traveling together all those years. And they were incredibly busy years. Somebody asked me, what's the biggest difference between this team and those teams? And those teams, in 92, they'd had 10 consecutive years of playing over 500 ball, by far the longest streak in the major leagues. And for 9 years in a row, they either won the division or finished within 2 games.
Yep.
So they never played insignificant games. It wasn't like last year's bunch, which was last every day of the season, and everybody was sour about them. And they come into the spring with very minor expectations, I would suggest. But in those days, everybody had huge hopes for the Blue Jays, and to not win something important was a huge disappointment, and that was the big disappointment. Or big difference, I would say.
In those 11 years, Michael, I remember figured it out, and they played 6 meaningless games. They got knocked out, I remember in Baltimore with 1 game to go. They got knocked out on a Saturday with 1 game to go. They got knocked out on the Friday with, But you should tell the people what your attire. I mean,
well, we're all going to take a photo.
There's not too many guys wearing that today.
And it's faux retro.
I left mine at home.
So this is like it's a retro jacket, Blue Jays jacket from the first 2 World Series, and it was gifted to me just a couple of winters ago. So it's faux retro. Like that's a big thing now, right? Like pretend like you held on to this thing since the early '90s, but of course you didn't. But I'm gonna show it off in the tree photo here, which I can't wait to do. But so it's interesting to me that you two might have been sitting beside each other for Game 6 in '93. So is it fair to say you guys could have hugged each, not that you would cheer in the press box, no, that wouldn't happen, but you could have hugged each other when Joe Carter hit the walk-off homer in the 9th inning of Game 6?
No, we didn't hug each other.
No, but you could have. Like you were close enough.
We were
just
too
like
busy.
this.
You were like this. So
Except I was here and he was here.
Yeah, we were too busy. You know, in '92, the first time, and the Sun had a later deadline than the Star, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in '92, the Toronto Star made the choice, and it was the publisher, John Hondrick, who made the choice. We're not going to try to sell a paper that doesn't have the score of the game in, because you couldn't do it. So the Star held the paper, and this was 500 and some odd thousand circulation in those days. It cost them a ton of money to hold the paper, and that game went extra innings. The Game 6 went extra innings, and people were panicking back here because how could you write the story? You couldn't write the story till the game ended, and when it ended, we had 9 minutes from the time.
Oh my God!
Of
Timlin to Carter.
Timlin to Carter, we had 9 minutes to write and file, and things were not as instantaneous as.
Well, is that humanly possible? I mean, you did it, so I guess it is. But
you always had to write against deadline. You always had to write a win lead and a lose lead, and hope you killed the right one.
Make sure you sent the right one.
Exactly. Yeah.
One night in Milwaukee, I sent the wrong one, but I phoned and it didn't make the paper.
Yeah. You could.
It's like Dewey beats Truman.
Wow. I mean, things happen so fast. You didn't even have time to turn your head and look at the other guy, much less, we weren't hugging and dancing, that's for sure.
No, but I guess my point is that you were together for Game 6 in '92, Game 6 in '93. So I think it's kind of neat that I've put you together in my basement for 2025, because this is where I'm going.
Michael, there's a certain symbiotic relationship to all this.
It's somebody could write a poem about this.
I'm just glad I'm recording it, because I just think it's something about this. How do Perkins? I'm going to call you Perkins now, Dave. Would you have any interest in attending the game tonight? Like, if you could get a press pass, would you go join Bob and cover this game?
No, I can't. I don't want to be in anybody's way. People in there are working. I respect it. There's people working. They don't need me standing around in their way.
But I mean, remind us, how many people would the Toronto Star have sent to Atlanta, for example, for the '92 World Series? And then we'll compare that to the number of people the Toronto Star will send to the Dome tonight, which I'm guessing might be Rosie DeMano, Gregor Chisholm, and Mike Wilner.
I guess, maybe. I don't know. They don't consult me, believe it or not.
It's significantly, there's probably
I'm retired.
room for
I've been
you,
retired 13 years, so they don't consult me.
But you are doing some writing for the Star, I've
seen. Whenever there's an old-time thing, they got nobody there who remembered it, and I remember everything, unfortunately. So they asked me to pump something out, so I, invest half an hour and pump something out. It's all in my head, and unfortunately, I've still got all my scorebooks. So, and I kept a good scorebook.
Oh yeah,
terrific scorebook. So I can just glance at something. I know exactly who hit the double and who didn't, and blah blah blah. So it's easy for me to reconstitute this stuff.
It kind of reminds me of I had a chat with Damian Cox years ago, and I was asking him about Bill Barilko, and he was telling me that when he could.
Damien covered Bill Barilko.
No, but Milt Dunnell did, and he could just go to his colleague and ask him what kind of player was Bill. Like, talk to me about Bill, and he had somebody there who could. And it's awesome that you two are still producing content we can consume, because you guys were there. So you guys have seen the Toronto Blue Jays. You guys have covered. A lot of us have seen it. I watched it on TV. But you have covered the Toronto Blue Jays winning the World Series. So I just think it's awesome that you're still pumping out content that we can consume.
Yeah, well, I don't pump too much. Bob does the pumping.
Bob's still pumping. And Bob, where's that jacket? Tell me about your jacket. It says it's got Bob Elliott 2003 to 17.
That's we used to go to Wyoming, fly into Denver on a Thursday, see a basketball game Friday, go to the football game Saturday. Depending upon how cold it was, some guys would go straight to a place called the Library, which wasn't a library; it was a bar.
You're kidding.
And it started with 4 guys, I think, and by the 3rd year, we were in a bus. There was 33 people. So Fergozzi went, Caston went, Clint Hurdle went. We had it was mostly scouts, mostly riders. But so, anyways, I missed in 2018, and I got sick in 2019. So I've been back, and they told me I remember asking the guy, "Can I fly?" and to New Brunswick to see my grandchildren. He says, "Yeah, you can fly. You can fly anywhere except the Swiss Alps, Mexico City, and Denver because of the altitude." So I haven't been back. So
that, in other words, that jacket's a little old.
Yes.
Oh, 2017.
I got a better one. You know this new documentary on Who Killed the Expos?
Yes,
Blah,
I
blah,
watched
blah.
it this morning. Yeah.
Well, did you see me in it? I'm in it.
Yes, I did.
For about
behind the cage.
for about 5 seconds.
I got to see this still. Okay.
I'm in it. It's around 19 minutes. I'm in it for like 5 or 6 seconds, standing behind Charles Bronfman.
Oh, it was Charles?
Charles
Okay.
Bronfman. And the worst part is I still have the same jacket somewhere in my closet. So
hey, I haven't seen it yet, but is Richard Griffin in this?
No, I didn't
How come?
see him.
This thing missed the boat, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think it badly missed the boat, but that's a story for another day. But there's a lot of people they should have talked to that they didn't.
Well, as I remember, you replaced yourself with Richard Griffin, or what's the story?
Yeah. When I was a baseball columnist, and after the '93, I made a huge mistake. I went in to become sports editor, which was terrible, and so I had to hire a replacement for myself as a baseball columnist, and I hired Rich. And
Good hire.
Yeah, well, some people never forgave me, so we won't mention who. But anyway, that was.
I think I know.
You're only going back 31 years on that.
Yeah, I'm going to read something for Bob here, and then we're going to get into the 2025 Blue Jays, okay? And we can do a little comparing and contrasting along the way, and I'll just try to shut up and listen because I've got Bob Elliott and Dave Perkins here, for goodness sakes. Nobody wants to hear my voice. But this is from a guy we call in the community here Canada Kev. Canada Kev, you got to go to shopkindling.ca for your cannabis, right, buddy? Kev does, I'm sure. But Canada Kev writes, "Hey, Mike, my boy Jack is watching his old coach Bob. He's watching on live.torontomike.com.
Live?
Yeah.
This is live?
It's live for people who know about
Better
live.
comb my hair.
You look great, by the way. Camera
too
loves you. Hey, Mike, my boy Jack is watching his old coach Bob. He loved Bob and learned so much from him. Bob would know him as the shortstop Skinny from the Mississauga Twins.
Yeah, I remember Skinny. Yeah.
Jack sent me this question for Bob, so I haven't even read this yet, so hopefully this is appropriate here.
It'll be a good one from Skinny.
Wait, Jack sent me this question for, can you send a message on your account because you need to log Oh, okay. So I hope I get this right. I'm reading it now for the first time. But what do you think about the Blue Jays bullpen? This will be a good segue because I want to talk 2025 Blue Jays now because I'm feeling it. We might be clinching Game 6 tonight. It's at the Dome. I'm pretty jazzed. A lot of Jays fans are excited about tonight. This is hasn't happened in 32 years. But the question here is, maybe we'll start with this, but what do you, Bob, and I want you, Dave, also to answer this, what do you think about the Blue Jays bullpen and how they've used them in this postseason? So at this point, I'm actually going to try to retreat into the background. I would love it for you two to just talk about these 2025 Jays who have surprised the F out of me. I can't swear in front of Bob Elliott. They've surprised me immensely. Please.
I could.
You have.
What?
I would say they're talking about their deadline deals, like Dominguez, Sir Anthony, he might be downgraded to Mr. Anthony, I think. He walks too many people for me to be pitching in the 8th inning. And Varland throws the crap out of it. But, I mean, he's been okay in the World Series, but against the Yankees, and he got that big strikeout at Stanton, and against Seattle, he gave up some big ones.
Yeah, my take on the bullpen is it's not good, but it's good enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's not a great bullpen. And I'm a little confused by the way it's used, but I'm a little confused by a lot of things they do. So I've given up, trying to figure it out.
Well, the little thing made zero against Raleigh. That made 0 sense.
Yeah.
Bringing in a left-hander to face a guy with a right-handed guy with 60 home runs.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, I mean, you go back, you hate to dwell on this kind of stuff, but in the game when they blew the 8-1 lead, they brought in a left-hander to turn around. Who was it? Turn around. Carlos Santana.
The Twins.
No, it was Carlos Santana. They brought in the lefty that the guy who left one thing. I can't remember that one, but Santana hit the 3-run homer, and they started back. Remember when they were coming back from 8-1?
Yeah.
And it was all about, well, we wanted to turn this guy around, and I'm thinking, sometimes they do things, you know what I mean, like the game 2 against the Yankees when they're leading 12-0 or whatever it was.
Oh yeah.
And it's like he wanted to give everybody a participation ribbon.
And now it's 11-7.
And bringing in everybody, and then the next thing you know, it's 11-6 or 7 or whatever, and the Yankees were come back to life. Yeah. There are certain things that happen, and I wonder, but once again, it's good enough, and it's way better than the Dodger bullpen.
Yes.
I don't know how the Dodgers got to this point with this bullpen. I understand maybe their second best guy, their best left-hander, is out for, family reasons. I get that. But everybody's losing somebody at this time of year. Yep. Everybody's missing somebody. So.
But that Seattle game, that's the one you're talking about, the 8-1 game.
Yeah.
So it was our 50th anniversary, but it was celebrated on our 51st. So we're in Victoria, taking the ferry over and from Vancouver to Victoria. And so I'm like trying to look at my phone, and my wife's yelling at me. So we're on this ferry. Yeah, it's supposed to be a vacation, So I don't look at it. So I go to the washroom, and I sneak a peek, and it's 8-1. So now I'm sitting in the hotel room, and I don't know what station it is, So 11 o'clock news comes on, and there's streamers and everything, and I was watching Seattle news. Like I thought, I'm thinking who's going to pitch Game 3, and here it was. Seattle came back and whomped them. Yeah. As Richard wrote, they figured every possibility except for Berrios would have the best game of his life.
Well, better times now. So maybe let's get into it here. I'll throw a name at you, and then we'll talk generally about how surprising this 2025 team, but how I think they're an extremely likable team and an exciting team and entertaining team. It's all coming together. We're up 3-2. Game 6 is tonight. But can we just talk a moment, because you guys have seen a lot of baseball. Have we ever seen somebody do what we're seeing from Trey Savage?
No, I haven't.
No, it's spectacular. They haven't figured him out. No. And everybody gets figured out sooner or later, but he hasn't. And second look the other night, the Dodgers just seemed to have less of a clue than they did the first time.
But I don't think he had his good pitch the first time they saw him. So as Smoltz said, that was basically the first time they saw that pitch. But I don't know. Like a friend of mine phoned me last night, and he says, "This guy's going to win 20 games for 10 years." I said, "Yeah, you remember Alek Manoah? You remember Fidrich? Stuff happens."
Yeah,
they're like 3-year-olds at Woodbine. They break down.
Of course, yeah, and Bowden Francis a year ago.
Yeah,
right. The pitcher of the month. That was only a year ago. So I mean, God bless this kid. He's been great, and let's give him a chance to. The next thing you need out of a great player or pitcher is longevity. That's what makes them great. It isn't, a hot couple of weeks or a hot couple of months or a hot season. It's longevity. So, great start. You couldn't have a better start. So let's just back up and watch them go.
And seemingly out of nowhere, because the average Jays fan didn't really hear this name Trey Savage until August?
No, but I mean,
Well, he was a first-round pick last year.
Yeah, but
Sure.
the average Jays fan
yeah,
couldn't tell you
no.
the first round pick.
right. But I mean, by the same token, for 5 years you heard what a great pitcher Nate Pearson was going to be,
Yeah.
and it
Or
doesn't
that
work
Martinez kid.
out. And or Elvis Martinez, and
Yeah.
now he's been really,
See ya.
the hype machine starts on everybody, and you sometimes need to back up and say, let's give him a chance. Let's see how this plays out. Let's not declare greatness, too early. So it's things can go wrong. That's all we're saying.
I remember, like, I love Baseball America. It does a wonderful job and everything, but I was talking to a guy once, and I said, what about this kid? Because he had a Blue Jay prospect. This was years ago. And he says, everybody in Baseball America has a great future, except for the guys in the obit column.
Yeah.
Shout out to Ridley Funeral Home.
But I mean, we were around. We were still out there when Roy Halladay threw a 9-inning near no-hitter
I was
in his
there.
second start. Right, he 1 out from a no-hitter.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Roy Halladay, who we now know 30 years later, or almost 30 years later, is in the Hall of Fame and deservedly so, and blah blah blah. But after that no-hitter, what happened? He ended up
Went
down in A-ball,
Dunedin, yeah.
getting rebuilt right from
Were
the
you
ground
there
up.
that day?
Yeah,
When the Bucks sent him down?
The day was set. No, I was there the day the no hitter when it was Higginson,
Bobby,
right?
yeah.
And who caught the ball in the outfield?
Dave Steve.
Dave Steve sitting in the
Did he?
bullpen. Yeah,
Really?
which was the most ironic thing imaginable. Steve had spent his career, it sounds like, with 8 2/3 inning no hitters,
Yeah.
right?
That reminds me of the story you guys shared. I think it was maybe the first time you guys were on the show together, but you told me the story of Dick Schofield, right? With
Yeah, that was Dick Schofield.
So there's been 2 walk-offs to
Right.
clinch a World Series. Well, you tell the story quickly, because then
That was my setup column for the World Series. 1960, Bill Mazeroski hit the first walk-off World Series home run, and the Pirates shortstop was Dick Schofield, the father. And in 93, Dick Schofield Jr. was a Blue Jay bench guy. And I remember talking to him, this is my setup column in the World Series, and said, you know your dad's in the picture greeting Bill Mazeroski at home plate in Forbes Field in 1960. He said, I know all about it. We got the picture at home. And he said, wouldn't it be something if I was blah, blah, blah. So 2 weeks later, Joe Carter hits the home run, second walk-off home run in World Series. And there is a picture, and Dick Schofield Jr. is in virtually the same position
Really?
in regards to home plate that his father was in regards to Mazeroski 33 years earlier. And I always say that was the one kind of called shot I ever had on a setup column.
So I remember you telling that story. This is years ago now when you first visited, and I got goosebumps then. I got them again now, but I've been dining out on that story. Like, I've been sharing that story left, right, and center. That's a great story. But here's one not as good as that. But I'm sure you guys know this because you're Bob Elliott and Dave Perkins. But I know that first game of these World Series, I guess Dalton Varsho went deep. I think he got the first homer of this in the first game of this World Series for the Jays anyways. And his dad, Gary Varsho, played with Darren Dalton. 93, right. Yeah. So Gary Varsho has a son and names him Dalton Varsho, same spelling as his buddy Darren Dalton. And then you see, eventually Dalton Varsho would hit a home run in the World Series. And there was kind of, because Darren Dalton, of course, I buried the lead here. I don't tell as good a story as Dave Perkins. But Darren Dalton is behind the plate, of course, when Joe Carter touches them all. Not as good as the Schofield story. I got to work on it, right, Bobby?
No, that was good. Darren Dalton, he died at a very early age, and I remember the one guy was a reliever. But they asked him about Dalton after he passed, and he said he's a man's man and he's every woman's dream.
There you go.
They say the same thing about Dave Perkins.
Yeah, right. And one thing I would say about Varsho, I would say this guy is easily the best center fielder they've had since Devon White, and I would almost go to say he's as good a defensive player, period, as they've had since those days.
Yeah, he'd be above Pilar, yeah.
Yeah, and the other guys. I mean,
and Mosby.
Yeah. But Mosby was before Devon White.
Sure. Yep.
But I mean, that's how good this guy is in center. He had the one bad game in the playoffs. I'm not sure, maybe in Seattle or something. And it was absolutely shocking to see him kind of mistime a jump on a fly ball. Like, it was absolutely shocking. Like, the guy is so good.
So you talked earlier about the hype machine for pitchers coming up, and now people have given Trey Savage a pass into the Hall of Fame possibly, but we did the exact same thing with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Like, the hype around Vladdy when he was coming up, I don't think I remember hype for a prospect like that in Blue Jays history, although I only kind of started tuning in '83. But I'm wondering, as we, here we are on October 31st, 2025, and if all goes well, we'll win in 6 tonight. Who knows? We haven't seen this game yet. But maybe if you two don't mind talking about Vladdy Guerrero Jr., the player he's become, and what he means to this team.
Well, he won Baseball America's Player of the Year. The only other Blue Jay to win it, Derek Bell.
Right.
You mean George Bell? Derek Bell?
No, Derek Bell. Yeah. So you want to look up Derek Bell where he sits in the leaders,
So how does Derek Bell win that?
Well, he had a great year at Syracuse,
Okay, I see. Yeah.
It's because nobody knows nothing, basically.
Yeah.
You have your best opinion, you have your best idea, but nobody knows. Nobody ever knows.
Nobody knows for sure. No.
Yeah.
Hey, am I misremembering a prank that maybe Joe Carter played on Derek
No, you're
Bell?
remembering, yeah.
Can you share? Do you share this?
Yeah, they said they had the announcer in on it, and they said, we're going to give away a car to a fan in section 123 or whatever. And Carter, I think it was a meaningless game. Carter drives the SUV out onto the field, and it's Derek Bell's car. And they of course, the camera was zoomed in on Derek Bell, and Derek Bell's like,
That's amazing.
That's my car,
That's amazing. But yeah, a little more about Vladdy. When he at Game 7. So we win Game 7 against the Seattle Mariners, and we advanced to our first World Series in 32 years. And I remember watching Vladdy's talking to Hazel May or something, and his eyes are red, like he's tearing up, and you just realize like how much he cares about this and that emotion. I love that emotion. But what can you guys say about Vladdy Guerrero Jr. circa 2025?
Well, I don't think he was the MVP for the regular season.
No.
Postseason or World Series or whatever, probably. But Springer was the MVP of the 162 games. I know he didn't play 162, but Guerrero's, guys would argue with me and they'd say, well, his exit velocity is, and he's hitting 302 or what. I said, they're not paying him to hit 302. They're paying him to hit home runs.
Driving runs,
yeah.
He coming into this postseason, he's absolutely flipped the script. He was a career 136 batter.
Yep.
In the postseason.
He was like Bonds.
Not before this year. And the last time anybody remembers in the postseason, he was getting picked off second base to kill that rally against the Twins.
Right.
Now he's entirely flipped it. Good for him. He's when the people say, well, he's making his $40 million, I agree. Whatever the salary is, I don't really care anymore. The salaries are crazy. You either earn what you're making or you don't. He's now earning it.
Yep.
He's had a very, very good, terrific postseason. It's he's driving in runs and hitting home runs, which, as Bob says, that's what he's paid to do. He's not paid to hit singles, but he's flipped the script. So good for him.
And he's played well in the field too. He made like an Alomar play. Was it against the Yankees?
Going backwards.
Hard hit ball, man on second. He threw the guy out at third, easy for fun. And then he made that play the other night in L.A.
Yeah.
Come off the base and threw the guy out at third. I mean,
he spiked the throw, but it was it was a pretty good pick by Clement. But I would say, echoing what Bob said, to me the three guys in this team who got the most big hits this year were Kirk, Clement, and Springer.
Yep.
Those guys got huge hits. I mean, Kirk is by far my favorite Blue Jay to watch because he's just a little round guy who gives you 100% at all times. He gets big hits. he's a tough guy. Obviously, the fact that he can't run, it doesn't matter to me.
Here's the best way to describe this year's team compared to 92 or 93. Is there $700 guys or $700,000 guys like Clement or Luke's or whatever? They're playing like $7 million guys.
Yep, exactly.
I mean, and Santander, it's a write it off this year. Maybe he'll do well next year. I don't know, but they've had. Now, is that good management or is that catching lightning in a bottle?
Well, tell me, what do you think? I've asked myself this very question.
I don't know. I mean, I could see them, like Clement's been released twice. So Cleveland was wrong about him, Oakland was wrong about him, and Toronto was right about him. Or maybe he just got better. Well,
the man's been he just hits
as a big leaguer. Yeah.
Luke's 10 years in the minor leagues. I mean, God bless these guys.
I think it's a great story.
It's terrific, and throughout history, World Series time, lots of guys you never heard of,
Bob Hazel,
jump up and do things, and it's always a pretty interesting story. Mm-hmm. When a guy comes out of nowhere to grab the world by the ass for a week, it's terrific.
But who was that guy with the Yankees that hit the most home runs in 100 bats? Kevin Moss.
What
happened to him?
Right. Well,
gone.
But I mean, lots of guys have shown up big time at the biggest times, and it's so nice to see these guys do that.
Can you two gentlemen, combined, how many seasons of baseball have you watched? That's a lot of baseball you guys have consumed. Okay, can you, off the top of your head, think of a team? Let's assume the Jays do close this deal. Let's say we win our third World Series. Okay, let's be optimistic here. Have you ever seen a team come out of seemingly nowhere to do what this 2025 Blue Jays team has did? Because you guys both said, and
69 Mets.
So tell.
Last every year, basically. Ninth year before.
The Braves went worst to first. So did Minnesota.
Sure, yeah. Lots of teams have gone worst to first.
And I don't think the American League East is the same this year as it was in 92 or 93.
No,
it's competitive.
Absolutely. Yeah,
but remind me, the Braves don't win it all till 95, right? But they weren't worst to first in 95, so they don't.
They were. It was a worst to first World Series in 91. Both teams,
which they lost. Yeah.
Which they lost to Morris.
So 69 Mets. We're looking at the Miracle Mets if you want to find a comparison.
Sure. And once again, improbable catches. Cleon Jones. And Swoboda in the outfield, guys who weren't known for anything, making these plays. And you look at the pitching staff, and they got Seaver and Nolan Ryan was a kid in the bullpen, and Kuzman. They had arms and everything, but to come from nowhere, and that was, they were 100-to-1 shot at the beginning of the year, and away they come. And in those days, you had to win.
Yeah.
You had to win.
There wasn't any wild card.
Yeah, there was no wild card. So, that was the first great. You go through the '60s, Yankees for the first half of the '60s, Dodgers for the middle third of the '60s, Cardinals for the latter part of the '60s. Then the good Oriole teams, '69 to the '70s, and then the Oakland dynasty in the early '70s. The Cincinnati dynasty, and then the Yankees got good again. Then the Dodgers got there's always been strong teams. There weren't necessarily teams coming from left field to do it, but there have been a few, as we say. And this would be considered one of them for sure.
Like in April, again, I'm no expert, but I know I was talking. I think Keegan Matheson, and I was thinking this team's going to miss the playoffs. It didn't seem like there was any upgrade of note from last year's team to this year's team. And again, these names you dropped, Barger, Clement, Lucas, Schneider. To me, these are guys. These are just guys, and they're playing like over their heads.
Yeah.
But it's all come together.
But here, to me, the biggest difference of all was they started to catch the ball, and they've caught the ball pretty well all year.
And they don't strike out a lot.
Yeah, and they don't strike out a lot. They did early on.
Yeah.
But it seems that things changed once a couple of guys got hurt and got out of the lineup. And all of a sudden, some guys were coming in, taking pitches, fouling pitches off. extending pitches, running up pitch counts and everything. But to me, the biggest difference was they caught the ball. Jimenez is a terrific defender.
Oh, tremendous.
He's a great defender.
That's why I think they're going to be all right if Bichette leaves. I mean, that guy can play shortstop.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you think happens with Bo?
I think he's probably gone. That's my feeling.
I think he wants to go, and I think he's probably gone. But I also think Eddie Rogers will want to spend more money than you can imagine to keep him.
When I was writing, Michael, I mean, I don't know how many times I knocked Edward Rogers for not spending, so we have to compliment him for spending.
Yeah.
I mean, I keep reading, David versus Goliath. The one team's number 1 in salary and the other team's number 5. This is not David versus Goliath.
Right. Yeah, I mean, this is a team with a huge payroll, and they weren't getting their money's worth before this year. Now they are.
Yeah.
And the payroll is going to go out of sight next year because they got 9 guys eligible for arbitration. Vladdy goes to $40 million.
Mm-hmm.
Jimenez goes to $15 million. I mean, Varsho's made 8 or 9 this year. He's going 15 or whatever in arbitration. Like there's a ton of numbers going to go up.
Nobody loses in arbitration.
No, and like Bieber's
free agent.
He got an option, so he can go free agent. So, I mean, he can turn down a $16 million, or he can go free agent. Well, he's going to get more than 16. He assured that the other night, I would say.
I would think.
So you mentioned Rogers spending money, and that's a good segue because I want to ask you about George Springer, because I remember when we signed George Springer, it was a sign like, okay, we are willing to spend some bucks and put together a team. But again, I'm no expert like you two. That's why you're here. But in 2024, when I was watching Blue Jays baseball, I was thinking I was watching an over-the-hill George Springer who was done, like in 2024.
Oh, exactly. How about this spring? He had 1 hit, all of spring training. I mean, I know they don't play every day. They play every other game. They only play half the games, but 1 for Florida. That's not a good sign. And where was he last year? He was second last among qualified hitters, lowest average.
So
like, how does this? I mean,
I have no idea.
it's a
he's 36 years old.
Yeah. Well, it's a fountain of youth thing. Once again, good for him. Sometimes old horses can put out a good race.
Well, yeah, sometimes they do that though with banned substances. Like we're doing this clean, like that. Like Bonds can do what he does, but then we can find out he had assistance, right? So, by all accounts, Springer's doing this the good old-fashioned way.
On hay and oats, as we used to say.
So speaking of George Springer, who I'm told by correspondent Canada Kev is going to play tonight. Like apparently that's exciting for me personally that see Springer in the lineup tonight. But in Game 7,
as the DH.
I believe so. I mean, of course, I think so. But in Game 7 of the ALDS, Springer hit, I'm trying to remember now, 3-run homer, right, in the 7th. Do I have those things right?
The CS.
The ALCS, yeah, I'm sorry.
Against
yeah. You know what?
He hit it.
I'll fix it in
He
post.
hit it on Hankey's TV 20 seconds before it was on my TV.
The ALCS, of course, against the Mariners. So I'm curious of you two who have seen all the big home runs in Blue Jays history, but where do you rank? Let's put a caveat here. Assuming the Jays win the World Series. Big assumption there, because we've got a lot of work still to do here. I say we, like I'm on the freaking team here. Okay.
We've noticed.
My apology. I can cheer. I'm not in the press box. That's why I'm wearing this jacket. Where would you rank the Springer home run in the ALCS that in Game 7? Where would you rank that amongst the pantheon of
in team history?
Yes.
I say 4.
So before we go to Bob,
last night on TV they said guaranteed 1 and 2 with Carter. Showman and Buck said guaranteed 1 and 2 with Carter.
I think Alomar's was bigger. I think Batista's was bigger.
I think Sprague's was bigger.
Yeah, Sprague was a big one.
That's what I got. I got this at 4.
Let's hear the ranking from Dave Perkins here. 1
is Carter walk-off World Series home run. That's unchallenged in my opinion.
Right.
2 was the Alomar home run that turned around the ALCS, and you need the perspective on that. It was the 9th inning. They had lost the first game. This is 92. Yeah. They'd blown the 3-1 lead in 85. They'd had the monumental collapse in 87. Oakland had made them look sick in 89, and they'd blown.
Anderson stole second base on Ernie Witt, and he stopped it. 88 feet.
Yeah.
Put his hands on his hips.
Yeah. I mean, it was humiliating. 91, they lost to the Twins when they were a far better team. So in 92, people were pissed at the Blue Jays.
Yeah,
right?
they were known as the Blow Jays.
Yeah, they were called the Blow Jays, and everybody was mad at them. They lose the first game to Oakland, and everybody's going, here we go again. Second game, they're down 2 runs in the 9th inning. Eckersley on the mound, strutting around, preening and everything, right? They're going to go down 2-0, and 8 million people in Ontario are going to say, same old Blue Jays. Boom, Alomar hits the home run. They win in extra innings, and that turned that series around. So to me, that's number 2.
And you know who walked before Alomar's home run?
No.
Derek Bell.
Derek
Bell, lead Derek Bell. Yes, he had his car back, and then I'll go to the next step. Now you're going now you're in the World Series in Atlanta. Lose the first game, right? Second game, the dope flies the flag upside down. Everybody's pissed, but people are forgetting it's 4-3 in the 9th inning for the Braves with the closer in.
Reardon, yeah.
Jeff Reardon's in. Walk, and Ed Sprague comes up and hits a pinch hit, 2-run homer to turn 4-3 losing into 5-4 winning. Second pinch hit turnaround home run in World Series history. The previous one was Kirk Gibson.
Right.
And my lead was that day, that home run was Kirk Gibson without the limp.
Right.
Very good.
So, and once again, if he doesn't hit that home run, and the next guy doesn't hit a home run, and the game ends and they lose, they're down 2-0 in the World Series. So to me, those 2 home runs, because they were in the 9th inning, it slightly outpaces 7th inning home runs because the game still might have turned. You still had 2+ innings to turn the game against Seattle and the Batista game and blah, blah, blah. They were huge, huge home runs, no question. But I'll stick with my 3.
So you've got Spring at 4. Right, because it's Carter, Alomar, Sprague, and then Springer for you. Yeah. Okay, over to Bob Elliott. Where do you rank this Springer home run in Blue Jays history?
I would go Carter, Alomar, Batista, because they've got. I remember tweeting as often as I tweet, but the 500 level is throwing beers on the field.
Right.
When Dale Scott goes like this, no, it doesn't count. And everybody makes fun of Harold Reynolds. But I remember watching the replay, and Harold Reynolds, he said, that's live. The guy scores.
Right.
So I'd never seen it before, but, so anyways, they talk and everything, and Gibbons gets kicked out, and then he went out again, and they're throwing beers, the 500 level, except they've got 100 level arms. They aren't reaching the field. So Gibbons is walking off, going into the dugout, and he says, geez, I wonder if Beeston just threw that beer. And then he said he saw it land and it squirted because it was full. And he said, no way Beeston would throw a full beer. So I would say that thing. I don't know what would have happened if they had lost on a bad throw off the bat. That was I think a 56-minute inning.
Yep.
Yeah. They made a whole hour documentary just that 7th inning.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So that's important.
And
context.
you know what the actual rule is? Why it was legal? Is because the umpire cannot call time except for 2 reasons. The lights go out or there's an injury. The umpire cannot take a ball out of play.
Oh.
Except for those 2 legitimate reasons.
Well, if you watch it, if you see it again, Martin goes down on his right knee. He got lazy and he just flipped it.
Yep. And hit the bat. It's Shin-Shu Chu, right?
Yeah, he was fixing his sleeve.
Yeah.
And they argued that it was intentional.
Right.
But
it wasn't.
They looked that he did it all the time.
Chu was looking the other direction.
Yeah, he was looking at the outfield. Yeah.
Is John Schneider a good manager?
John F. Schneider.
That's
what I called him in the last week.
Oh, because
John F. Schneider, F for his favorite word.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Or
yeah.
MF, yeah.
Although I noticed when he talks to the Fox guys, he's able to censor himself.
Well, MLB read him the Riot Act.
Yeah, that's. With kids, like in 1957, the Braves manager was not saying that. You know,
exactly. Yeah.
You know, like, I mean, I know it's cool for
He
all
thought
the
it,
guys.
but yeah.
Yeah, but you know, it's not. I don't think it's necessary for kids watching. And I'm an old fogey, but
Is he a good manager?
is he a good manager? I think he followed the script in Minnesota, and I think maybe he said the other night in the interview room that he knows now when to vary and everything, but I don't see why he would bring in Little to face Cal Raleigh. No. I would think that'd have to be a 2:00 decision or a noon decision.
Yep. I see a lot of that too. It's for me, he's got to go into the same class as the bullpen. Not good, but good enough.
And the other thing, Perk, is like that extra inning game, that 18-inning game.
Yeah. All
like
those
the
guys
their lineup that they finished with, that's what you send to Fort Myers for a night game.
Yeah.
Like Bichette was out,
Barger
Kirk was
out.
out, Barger was out,
Yeah.
Springer was hurt. You can't do anything about that. But I mean, they could have played 25 innings. Those guys weren't going to score.
Yeah, if Guerrero wasn't going to hit, nobody was going to hit that game. And he got a couple of singles, but they weren't they weren't going to get beat by him. It looked like so. No. It was. I mean, they all, what we used to say at the racetrack. They all look good in the winner's circle.
Yeah.
Right. So,
very true.
2-3 years ago, when these guys were blowing postseason games, everybody wanted his head. Why? I don't see much difference.
No.
You know what I mean? Except now, it looks like they're going to win something. So, they all look good in the winner's circle.
That's a great point. I mean,
they got 2 shots. Yeah.
Yeah, 2 shots. So,
well, they had 2 shots in '92, and you know what happened in Game 6, right? Do you remember? The headline in the Toronto Star was "Tonight's the night," and the Metropolitan Toronto Police Department put out a parade route.
Yeah, it was the city, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, the city put out a parade route. Said, "Well, we're going to go here, we're going to go there, and then we'll take the trophy over here, and blah blah blah." And I can remember Howard Starkman, who was the PR guy.
They were irate. Yeah.
The Jays were nuts. They were so mad. They said, "This makes us look like jerks." We're counting chickens. The whole world's watching because of 3-2, and of course.
Lonnie Smith
hit a bomb off Jack Morris, and boom, now it's back that we all got to get in the plane and go back to Atlanta. And the Jays were absolutely pissed, saying, it's kind of like chanting, "We don't need you" at Ohtani.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like sometimes you don't want to poke the bear. To me, that's like the Leaf fans chanting, "We want Florida."
Right.
Right?
Right.
I mean, they're full brothers.
What you wish for, yeah.
They're full brothers here, all these fans, right? Yeah. We want Florida. Well, maybe they didn't. Maybe we don't poke Ohtani a little too much because
As soon as Lonnie Smith hit the home run, Wicker phoned. Mark Wicker was in the football press box, now our main press box.
Right.
And he says, "Did you read that story about the parade route?" And I said, "Yeah, I did." He says, "Can you give me the streets?" So the paper was there. And I said, "Yeah, it's Down Young or wherever it was. I forget." And so he said, "Thanks." And I'm thinking, what's he want that for? I said, "I know what he's right." Parade route.
Yeah, it's so. Then the same thing can't happen this time because they're here just for 6 and/or 7, depending. There's no going back on the airplane, but that was one of those times you're kind of going, "Gee, let's maybe not do this."
I have a question for you, Dave Perkins, that came in from a chap named Steve Cole. Steve says, "Ask Perkins about the time the Toronto Star had the opportunity to buy the New York Yankees. Goodman couldn't get the board to approve it."
Correct. Yeah. That was before my time. That was in the 1960s. I mean, I was around, but I wasn't working. I was still in high school or public school.
I've never heard this story.
Yeah. When CBS... 2 guys owned the Yankees.
Del Webb?
Webb was one of them, and a guy named Mike, I forget his name. Anyway, CBS was selling the Yankees, and it was $1.4 million. It was a ton of money. Martin Goodman, the late Martin Goodman, who was the Star president, and also a pitcher on the fastball team later on when I was a catcher on the Star fastball team. Anyway, Goodman had attended Columbia University in New York, and he was a huge Yankee fan.
Oh.
And he had, relations and friends in New York and everything, and heard that the Yankees were indeed for sale. So Goodman tried to get the Toronto Star to buy it, and the Toronto Star had more money than Yoko Ono in those days. They were loaded.
Right.
And Beelan Hondrick, who ran everything, he didn't know a baseball from that can of beer. Beelan was not a sports guy, but it was left up to the board. The board would not go for the expenditure. $1.4 million, of course, what's it worth? How many billions of dollars, So the CBS sold the Yankees, and I just can't remember the name of the guys who bought them, but Mike somebody, I remember the guy, long curly hair. Anyway, and then he sold it to Steinbrenner, and away he went. But that's a fact. Martin Goodman, and we used to, in the 70s, when I started playing ball for the Star team, and I was catching, Marty was pitching, he'd lament, And this is when the Yankees were beating the Royals every year and go to the World Series, and
right.
And he'd lament, it could have been us, we could own them, we blah blah blah. But no, the gentleman who asked the question was 100% right.
So what year would that have been, Perk? Early 60s?
I'm going to say 64.
Was Jack Kent Cook's team still here?
Yeah,
they were in 67.
Yeah, but there was never any question of moving the Yankees here. That was not part of the deal.
Oh,
they just wanted to own the Yankees. Nobody in those days cared who owned what ball team, or any kind of franchise.
That's unbelievable. And shout out to the Martin Goodman Trail. I ride it every day.
Sure, that's Marty. Yeah.
Wow.
I'll give you. Marty was a pitcher, loved to pitch. And when he passed of cancer, and he was taking chemo, and he took chemo in his left arm so he could still pitch with his right. That's how.
Wow.
What kind of player he was.
There's a chap named Len Lumbers. Here's a fun fact. Len Lumbers was the 1,000th unique guest on Toronto Mic'd, because he came over with Blake Bell, and we had Stephen Brunt on, because we did an episode recently where we made a pitch, pun intended. We made a pitch for Dave Steeb to be in Cooperstown. This was the premise here. So shout out to Len. So before I ask anything about Dave Steeb in Cooperstown, he is curious about something I'm also curious about. He goes, Len Lumbers is wondering which writers stoked your fires. That's you, Bob Elliott, and you, Dave Perkins. Because when Stephen Brunt was on, he mentioned Frayne and Abel as a couple of guys that stoked his fire as a writer. Who inspired you to write?
I started working in Kingston, and we were on the third floor, and on the second floor was editorial. And I was walking by there one night, at 4 a.m. or something. And I went in there, and they had the Winnipeg paper, and they had all these papers I'd never seen before. And they had the Detroit News, Watson Spolstra.
Watson Spolstra, yeah.
His grandson, I think he's the coach of the Heat, the Miami Heat, I think.
Yeah.
Right.
And I read it, and every night I went down there, and I said, wow, this guy can write, and and then I guess after that it would be Parrish and Michael Farber in Montreal, and Mark Wicker, and this guy here, and Alan Ryan. A lot of guys. I remember Alan Ryan's story about going up to York University, and they all had the fake mustache, and the basketball team. I don't remember it, but for him, he must have had a relationship to get a whole team to do that. It was a great piece.
What's funny is I didn't really have people that I thought I ever wanted to be like, but the guy who impressed me when I was a kid, I was 19, I started working at the Globe and Mail, and Dick Beddoes was was a personality, a huge personality. He dressed funny. You know what I mean? He looked funny. He was outspoken. He was bald as a cue ball and wore a hat at all times. But he just had a huge personality, and he'd laugh at power. You know what I mean? And he'd talk to the Harold Ballards of the world.
Yeah, wrote the book on Pal Hell. Yeah.
And I was, like I said, I was a kid. I was 19. I turned 20, and Dick Meadows was a huge influence on me at that point. I thought, boy, maybe you can have some fun, and it doesn't just have to be who scored the goal and who hit the home run and what time. You know what I mean? It was you could write a little bit. You could have some fun. You could go beyond facts, figures, who, what, when kind of deal. So I would say Dick would be the first guy who kind of made me look that there was ways to do it.
I got some breaking news you guys can react to here. We now know who will throw out the ceremonial first pitch for Game 6 tonight at the Dome. It is Devon White.
Oh, good. Okay, well, that's fine. Yeah, I'd heard his name, too. Good for him. Well,
that's a good pick.
I mean, I hope they put on the screen that the catch in Game 3 of 92, the triple play that wasn't. But, boy, you won't see many better catches.
The catch, we can now call that.
Yeah, that was the next day. It was the catch.
Yeah. He gave me so when Alex makes the trade for Tulowitzki and Price, and they finish, they're playing like 680 ball, right? Something like crazy, right? So on the radio, it's the best team in Blue Jay history. It's the best team in baseball. It's the best team in baseball history, right?
Yeah.
So one of the bosses says, why don't you get somebody to compare it to 92 and 93? So I asked Cito. He said, I ain't touching that one. No thanks. Yeah. And I talked to a couple of players, but Devon White was there that night. So he was going into Beeson's box. I said, you got a second? He said, yeah, sure. So we go and sit down in the old press box behind home plate. And he danced. He wouldn't really.
Yeah, nobody wants to.
So he gets up, and he's walking across. You know how they have the gaps, like leading, like where you can see, and that lead you into the press box, so you can see center field. And he looks, and he comes back, and he says, I'll gladly discuss position by position, starter by starter, bullpen reliever setup guy with you, as soon as they have two banners up there like we do. Yeah. Is that all right? I said, that'll work.
There's the quote. Yeah. There's the quote. Yeah.
That'll do.
Yeah. Now, I will say one thing about this team this year. Many, many years ago, I'm talking like 50, 60 years ago, I was watching a lot of Major League Baseball. And one thing struck me, that good teams look lucky. You know what I mean? It's a mark of a good team that you look lucky. This team, to me, looks lucky. And I don't think the two are unrelated at all. But I always think of, that Maldonado throw, which I would say is the greatest lucky moment in Blue Jay history. And the deal was, in Game 6, in the ninth inning, they're leading 2-1. And there's a ground ball right at Alfredo Griffin that takes a bad hop, goes in left field. So it could have been double play. So now it's a couple of guys on, and I think it was Otis Nixon hits a bullet into left field. And Maldonado comes up throwing. All right? Now you know the situation. One guy scored to make it 4-3. And here's the deal. Before the World Series, before the National League Championship Series that year, the commissioner's office was looking at the stadiums, and it decided that the wire screen in the backstop in Fulton County Stadium was not wide enough. So they ordered 3 feet of extra wire put onto each side, all the way up to the top, 3 feet. Now we go to the ninth inning. It's now 4-3. Maldonado's throw is like a horrible throw. It airmails absolutely everything, hits the 3 feet of added wire.
He was throwing it to Jane Fonda.
Yeah, exactly right. That's what I think you wrote that, or somebody wrote that. It must have been thrown at the James, and the ball hit the thing and bounced right back, and the runner had to hold a third. The tying run,
Right.
or would have had to.
No,
hold,
I remember
would
watching
come
this
in.
and shocked that they didn't score on that play. Yeah.
And pardon me, the tying run had scored.
Yeah.
And this
One
was
guy
the
scored.
winning run
Right.
that would have scored.
Would have been over, yeah.
And the tying run, and that was the first blown save by a Blue Jay reliever since June. Hankey blew the save, quote unquote, because of this bad hop grounder, and then this ridiculous throw allowed the tying run to score. And the winning run, if that screen hadn't been there, would have been waved in. And it's now 3-3, and we're going to Game 7. So I will say that's the biggest piece of luck you ever saw, because they added these 3 feet of screen.
That's wild.
And the ball, and not only hit the screen, but it bounced right back almost to where it was the catcher had it, or the pitcher backing up, or whoever it was, so that the winning run could not score from third. And then they went into extra innings, and you know what happened? Jimmy Williams had set the infield, and Jimmy didn't like to guard the line, and that's where
Cito did.
Yeah, and that's where Winfield pulled Charlie Leibrandt right down the line for the double to make it, and that made it 4-2. I think it was 2-1 before, and then they got the tying run the bottom of that was it. The tying run the bottom of the ninth. The winning run would have scored without hitting this fence. So that was the kind of thing that, 30-odd years later, you kind of say, whoa, talk about a big moment.
Well,
The other thing I'd say about this team, I think they do get along.
Yeah.
And there's, like last year they were the Buffalo Boys. Well, the Buffalo Boys, I don't think you'd pay and go to see a ticket to any of them. Like, hey, I want to see David Snyder.
Right.
But the thing is, now Bargard's improved. Now the guy in right field, he's hitting second.
Yeah.
The 10 years in the minors and everything's good. They've improved, and I'm not saying 92 and 93 didn't get along, but they were more established.
Right.
The thing, people say, well, which is the best team of the three if this team wins?
Yeah.
I said it might be 85 because they won 99 games, but you had Hall of Famers on those two teams. You had Molitor, you had Morris, you had Winfield, Alomar, and this one you got Max, I guess. Period.
Yeah, at this point, yeah.
Maybe Guerrero. Who knows?
Yeah,
in 10
sure.
years,
It's early. Yeah, it's early. But and the other thing is, of course, everybody forgets 92 to 93 were two vastly different teams.
Oh yeah.
Here came. The first time it was we're going to add Morris and Winfield and trade for David Cohn, and then Key left and Winfield left and Cohn left, and so here came Molitor, and here came Dave Stewart, and here came
Hankey left.
And Hankey, yeah, here. So there was huge turnovers. It was I think 40% of the at bats and almost 40% of the innings left from between 92 and 93.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a good point, Perk. A lot of people think it's the same team. It's not
was
at all.
it was different teams.
Oh, Ricky Henderson too.
There's another Hall of Famer. Yeah. Ricky didn't do a whole lot.
No, because after he got his foot burned.
Yeah.
By Tommy Craig.
But he is dancing on second base when Mitch Williams is pitching to Joe Carter, so he gets some props for that, absolutely. But here, by the way, on that note, real quick, and I am sensitive to the fact that we got to get Bob Elliott to the Dome because there's a big ball game tonight. I don't know if you guys are aware, but is there a Blue Jay, and I'm thinking now of Len Lumbers and Blake Bell and Stephen Brunt, because this is only earlier this year we made the case for Dave Steve being in the Hall of Fame, but is there a Blue Jay who's not in Cooperstown but absolutely belongs there in your opinion?
The way things have gone, I would say Delgado could well merit consideration from the Veterans Committee. No
Delgado
question.
to me is the same player as McGriff. McGriff was
Yeah.
493, and I think Delgado was 475,
Something like that.
473, something like. And the thing was, so this was his hip, right, in the joint. So what they normally do is they saw this down, so then it goes. So what the doctor did is he made a curvature in here, so it went like this. So Delgado made the comeback and everything, but he couldn't hit back-to-back days. So the agent wanted to sue, and Delgado said, "I'm not doing that." He said, "I've had a good career. I'm done."
Yep.
And so neither of you think Dave Stieb belongs in Cooperstown?
He was on, was it 2 years ago?
Yeah.
I think he might get another shot. I mean, they've changed the rules again.
Yeah.
So, like, if Bonds and Clements, if they're on this year, and they get less than whatever it is, 5 votes or 3 votes, I forget, but they're off. So that'll open it up for more people.
Yeah. It's, that whole thing is, things have changed. And of course, you now have the specter of Trump wants to order people into the Hall of Fame, and the Hall of Fame seems ready to bend over and and do whatever they're told. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Okay, I'm looking up the word encroachment here. Oh my goodness. Okay, so speaking of Trump here, if this Blue Jays team wins the World Series, that'll be the 3rd World Series in franchise history, the first one in 32 years. But you already know that. But if they win, does this 2025 Toronto Blue Jays team visit the White House? What do you think?
Well, as a 51st state, I guess we would have to.
Oh, boo!
I don't know. That's a good question. He would have. I don't know. Are our elbows up or are they down? I don't know.
Remember a month ago I was asking. This is the question I asked tons of friends a month ago. As soon as they made the playoffs, I said, if these guys ever won the World Series, with Ed Rogers being a big MAGA guy, would they go? And overwhelmingly, people I know hang out with said they shouldn't, but they probably will. And it would depend whether or not they got an invitation. The Raptors in 19 did not get an invitation.
Oh, they didn't?
They did not get an invitation, but I can remember Danny Green had said, when the topic was first raised, Danny said, it's a hard no for us. But they were never given the opportunity. I think the only ones who have turned down Trump were the Golden State Warriors of his first term, right?
Oh.
Kerr turned him down. Now, the Jays in 92 did go to see George Bush the Elder.
HW.
But they didn't get asked in 94.
Oh, they didn't?
Or in 90, after they won in 93, they didn't get last 94, if I remember right, because I know they didn't go then. So there is precedent. If they get asked, my guess is they go. And a lot of Canadians, because this is Canada's team, and he's proud to own Canada's team and all this. That's what I keep hearing 50 times a game. So,
except it's not Canada's team.
Well,
I mean, it's Canada's team for advertising, but I mean,
right.
My grandson's in New Brunswick, like, I don't
Red
know what
Sox
it was,
fan,
6 years ago or whatever. The Red Sox brought the World Series trophy to, I don't know, St. John or Halifax, and then you go London to Windsor, they're all Tiger fans.
Yeah.
They're 60% Tiger fans, and in Seattle there's Mariner, or in BC there's Seattle fans
and Twin fans in the middle.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, but
they have the advertising covered though.
Yeah, but all that was pre-51st state rhetoric. Like, I feel like that is, I feel like this 2025 Blue Jays team is Canada's team. And if MAGA guy Ed Rogers wants the team at the White House and they get the invitation, how do you two think that will be, like, PR-wise? How would that be received by Blue Jays fans in this country to see their team that we've all kind of fans have fallen in love with at the White House of smiling with Donald J. Trump?
Well, one of the responses I got, and I got it from the people we were at Scotty's, was somebody said people would be so overjoyed at their winning that they won't care what happens to the team. The team will be revered forever, blah, 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 blah. I mean, if they win tonight or tomorrow, there are going to be people hold up pictures of the World Series trophy and say, tariff this. You know,
yeah, no, I mean, 100%.
You can see that coming.
It's personal, yeah.
So, and it was like that in 92 as well when the kid flew the flag upside down. People were pissed.
Oh yeah.
were absolutely pissed that this that was some dumb 19-year-old Marine kid who didn't know anything, who flew it upside down, and the apologies started. Remember the apologies? I remember telling, I think it was Steve Greenberg, the commissioner's guy, was in the press box. And I'd been on the phone with the office, and I was hearing these reports of people outraged and phoning, and we're going to mobilize the troops, and everybody was. And I told him, I said, you got a jackpot here. I said, the whole country's pissed off at this flag thing. And I remember he rolled his eyes back in his head, and he went, like that, like he was gurgling. And the next inning, the apologies started coming. Remember the apology, and then the Marine Corps apologized, and then the mayor apologized, and then the government apologized. And then the next day, George Bush apologized.
But do you remember Game 3 here?
Yeah.
They handled it so well. I think it was Howard's idea. I don't know for sure, but so they're all worried about the American flag being booed, right?
Yeah.
So they give the Mounties the American flag to walk in with, and they give the Buffalo Marine Corps or something the
Canadian flag.
The Canadian
So
flag,
smart,
and everybody they didn't know what to do. But outside they were selling flags upside
Oh,
down.
yeah. Well, at the World Series, remember the World Series party that night? I think it was at the Science Center. Remember, between Game 2 and 3, you have your first, your city has its World Series party for all the swells and guys like us.
Right.
And
Because we're swell.
And I think it was at the Science Center, but you could see people had flag pins upside down and walking around, and everybody's kind of going, "Oh, what's going to happen tomorrow?" We're so sorry, and it wasn't the heat of this year's. I mean, it was pretty hot, but it wasn't the heat that it's been here for 6, 8, 9 months, however long this guy's been around.
Well, remember that Four Nations Cup in hockey, what that meant to this country because of what Trump was saying. So I feel like this time it feels personal. But you mentioned swell guys. You guys are swell. And I really appreciate that I got to have you two together on what I think is a very special day for this city, for this country. And on our way out here, do you dare make a prediction? Do the Blue Jays win the third World Series in franchise history? Start with you, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, why not? I am not impressed with the Dodgers at all. I think, I mean, the guy who's pitching tonight was tremendous, but
Yamamoto.
Yeah, go do that twice.
I think Yamamoto wins tonight, and then tomorrow somebody's going to be Joe Carter Part 2.
Wow. Then I'll have to get you guys back to rank the homers again. Oh my goodness. Okay, it's strange, this confluence of events, because from 6 to 8 p.m. tonight, I'm fully consumed. I got 2 kids who are going trick-or-treating. Like, they're all jacked up for that. So it's like 6 to 8 is all trick-or-treating time. And then at 8 p.m.
just one more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No more. Bob Elliott, this won't be the last time you're in this basement. I love these chats, and I appreciate you doing this. And Dave Perkins, we talked before we press record. We're going to get you back, if I can, and before 2025 ends, we're going to get you back to talk about some other stuff.
I hope so.
But thank you guys for doing this. I appreciate it. And have fun at the Dome tonight, Bob.
Okay, Michael, thank you very much.
Take care.
And that brings us to the end of our... What are we at here? 1,789th show. Watch your head there, Dave, when you get up. I know you're thinking of getting up there. Don't hit that head. Go to TorontoMike.com for all your Toronto Mike needs. And much love. Yeah. That's right. One at a time. Much love to all who made this possible. Again, that's Great Lakes Brewery. I've got beer for the guys here. Palma Pasta. I've got lasagnas for the guys. Nick Ieni's. I can't wait to have Nick Ieni's next week talking with Steve Paikin for his show, Building Success. And Jennifer McKelvey for Building Toronto Skyline. Those are 2 great episodes of Nick Ieni's podcast next week. Kindling. Smoke them if you got them. Go to shopkindling.ca. Order some cannabis. And in under an hour, it'll be in your hands discreetly. You can follow it online. It's amazing. Give it a shot. Shopkindling.ca. RecycleMyElectronics.ca. That's where you go if you have old electronics, old cables, old devices. You don't throw that in the garbage. You go to RecycleMyElectronics.ca, put in your postal code, and find out where to drop that off. Blue Sky Agency. Talk to Doug about Silen's quiet and private pods. These are awesome. He's Doug at blueskyagency.ca. And shout out to Ridley Funeral Home. Hopefully the Dodgers will be put to rest tonight. See you all Monday. Checks his calendar in real time. Dwayne Morgan is my special guest Monday. That should be great. And then I have Finger 11, so Rainbow Butt Monkeys in the basement, Wednesday at 1 p.m. And then Ralph Benmergui drops by, Rabbi Ralph. We're going to have a good chat about everything. Hopefully we'll be talking about this World Series win. Oh, by the way, I skipped the weekends because I don't record on weekends, but Sunday morning, Sammy Cohn from The Watchmen is scheduled to be in this basement. Go Jays, go! Enjoy your night, Toronto. See you all Sunday.